The Royal Rumble is almost upon us, and this is such an exciting time of year because literally anything can happen in a Rumble and set off storylines on the way to the biggest show of the year. The mystery of the Royal Rumble is a huge part of the fun that comes with it. The story is already started to be told, we just haven't been able to put it together because we don't know the next big step for whoever it may be. That for me is thrilling. Now, with 2 Royal Rumbles, there is a wealth of options on the way to that one big crowning glorious moment in the main event of WrestleMania, or at least hopefully the main event as has been in previous years. I'm Tom Colohue and I'm going to run down the favourites for this year's Royal Rumble. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, like if you can, and remember to join me either here or on twitch.tv/Tom Colohue for a Royal Rumble watch along that will begin 1 hour before the kickoff show if you want to join the party and have some fun along the way. Number 10, Edge. Edge announced his entry into the Rumble on this week's Monday Night Raw, and to be fair, I think most people were quite confident he would be. If you've been following the preview shows that I do here live at 6 PM UK time every single Monday, you'll know that I've been very confident that Edge would be appearing in the Royal Rumble. I just felt he would be a surprise. They've decided not to take that route. There were always rumours that around this time, January time at least, we were going to see Edge back from his previous injury. For months now, the rumour mill has been putting Edge back into a feud with Randy Orton, even though it seems like Randy Orton's feud with The Fiend might be lasting a little bit longer yet. That unfortunately does flavour this preview because Edge is at number 10 because he doesn't seem to have a clear path to a champion. There is no current storyline, there is no previous storyline, there isn't anything already in play here, and even if he wins the Rumble, I'm not entirely sure the championship belt he's looking for even exists anymore. Edge hasn't been able to have that one match without any injury or pre-recording to show that he's back and really to convince himself that he can still go as he wants to. Randy Orton was his opponent to give him that, and I think Randy Orton will be his opponent again to give him that. That's why Edge for me is not one of the favourites. Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns aren't the men to give him that comeback match, and Goldberg certainly isn't either. Number 9, Bray Wyatt. The Fiend is a very powerful figure in the WWE and should definitely be considered an option for that reason alone. Whether or not he enters or at least appears to eliminate Randy Orton, we will have to wait and see. But I think The Fiend would take the Royal Rumble in a very different direction and would make a WrestleMania main event very different as well. Bray Wyatt hasn't been seen since getting set on fire by Randy Orton in December, and by all accounts he's likely to be back very soon. I certainly expect he'll be back very soon, because with all the play going on with Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss, it certainly seems to pave the way. However, that storyline is already very much in play, and changing immediately to a new one with Drew McIntyre seems confusing at the very least. The Fiend also occupies a very unique space, and losses in championship matches, or even no contests such as the one with Seth Rollins, have really hurt the character. If he can stay as far away from Goldberg as possible, that's the better for me. And to be honest, that makes it kind of difficult to see a clear path to an opponent. Randy Orton is a perfect opponent for The Fiend. Drew McIntyre, as he has said himself, might not be. Number 8, Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey hasn't been seen in almost 2 years in a WWE ring. This means that her turning up at the Royal Rumble is far from guaranteed, but the idea of another Ronda Rousey vs Sasha Banks match is a mouth-watering prospect considering what they were able to deliver 2 years ago at the Royal Rumble. On the Raw side, Asuka has just started a strong storyline. However, there is no guarantee that won't be abandoned given who the storyline is with and what they are already involved in. We also have Asuka's engagement with Charlotte, suggesting that there maybe isn't that much room for a storyline on the Raw side. While Rousey hasn't been seen in a long time, the WWE are looking for big names to fill a WrestleMania card with, and Ronda Rousey certainly fits that bill. This would be an ideal launching point, but it depends really what she wants to do. She basically has the ability to create her own schedule with the WWE, and that has been shown in the way that she has vanished after a year. The WWE are definitely open to throwing money at someone for a one-off appearance. It could be that Rousey, much like Lesnar has in the past, is used for the Royal Rumble, used for WrestleMania, and is barely used other than that. she could be considered an option. Number 7, Rhea Ripley. Show me anyone who doesn't see the star power in Rhea Ripley, and I will show you a liar. The woman has WrestleMania main event written all over her and has done for years. She had a major opportunity at last year's WrestleMania and had a great match in the process, but unfortunately since then, she hasn't really had anything to do with anyone on the main roster. While a Royal Rumble win would relaunch her on the right trajectory, we do have to consider the fact that all of Rhea Ripley's current storylines are NXT based. There have been rumours of a call-up, and that could come sooner rather than later, but it hasn't happened yet. And really, the only person that Rhea Ripley has any history with is Charlotte. Not to say she wouldn't have a great match with Asuka that I would really enjoy, or a great match with Sasha Banks, but I feel Rhea Ripley would need a bit more build to get her back to the level required of a potential main eventer. Number 6, Keith Lee. Keith Lee's time on the main roster so far has been a mixed bag. He's been put in very strong positions, but unfortunately hasn't been able to get the job done on a number of occasions, and his win-loss record is slowly starting to recover from a very bad start. That said, if you subscribe to the idea that wins and losses don't matter, Keith Lee is probably your most logical pick. Keith Lee has a definite storyline already lined up with Drew McIntyre, and really a swift heel turn plays into the narrative they're already setting up. There are hints that this could happen. However, would a swift heel turn really be what Keith Lee needs right now? That is what happened a lot with Braun Strowman, and Braun Strowman is slowly becoming the new Big Show, unfortunately, with the amount of turns that he's had. Keith Lee also has some history with the SmackDown champion Roman Reigns, and they did engage at Survivor Series a year and a half ago in what was Keith Lee's first real main roster push, something which they have not stopped doing for a while now. That said, a Keith Lee win also opens the door for more time in NXT, given that we seem to be aiming towards Karrion Kross and Finn Balor. It could be that Keith Lee takes the Rumble and goes for a rematch against an NXT champion Karrion Kross. That would certainly be a different way to present NXT, as they are trying to do to make it the main roster show that they want. Number 5, Big E. Big E is the current Intercontinental Champion and seems to be a fan favourite much more than a WWE favourite. While it would be a huge moment for Big E and for the fans, lightning rarely strikes twice, and I don't think we'll be able to recapture the Kofi Mania magic because I don't think the WWE are going to try. So far there have been no suggestions of an upcoming storyline with Roman Reigns, outside of Apollo Crews briefly appearing to share a room with Roman and then continuing his feud with Big E. Big E has not really reacted to that, at least so far. That said, a Royal Rumble win can catapult someone into that upper echelon, and lately the WWE have shown that they like having fan favourite winners. With the exception of Charlotte Flair, it's been a long time since a heel has won the Royal Rumble. This would be a good time for another fan favourite to take that, and you don't get much more fan favourite than Big E right now. There are a lot of people clamouring for Big E to get that chance, and it is far from impossible that this would happen. Number 4, Brock Lesnar. Yes, Brock Lesnar is one of the betting favourites for this year's Royal Rumble, and that really shouldn't be a surprise for anyone. Brock Lesnar is apparently currently out of contract, but he has worked out of contract on a number of times before because it is one hell of a payday for the guy, and the guy loves the money. Lesnar also has the most history of our two current champions, having lost the WWE Championship at last year's WrestleMania to Drew McIntyre, and also having encountered Roman Reigns on several occasions in the build to and at WrestleMania, never having lost to the man, despite a number of shenanigans and interesting finishes. Now personally, I don't see Brock Lesnar making an appearance right now, especially with Paul Heyman, his advocate, so firmly ensconced in the camp of the big dog. However, I don't think anyone can deny that with a new Peacock deal, the WWE are trying to get big names onto WrestleMania to appeal to those casual viewers that they may be able to pick up. You don't get much bigger than the next big thing, Brock Lesnar. Number 3, Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss has been the on-again, off-again favourite for the Women's Royal Rumble for months now, it feels, and a large part of this is down to her current level of exposure and storyline with The Fiend. That said, she is much higher up this list than The Fiend was, and there is a reason for that. Not only is Alexa on TV right now, but the women's division on Raw is notably smaller and weaker than it has been on several previous years. With established names such as Jax, Baszler, Asuka and Charlotte Flair, this should not be a division that can be called weak. However, the booking has been confusing in recent months, in many ways leading to this particular situation we have now, where we have a lot of tag teams and not many women actually standing out with unique individual storylines. The exception to that is Alexa Bliss. So much so that Bliss is currently working with the Raw Women's Champion in the lead up to the Royal Rumble. For me, that's a point against, because they could have waited to pull that trigger until after the Royal Rumble. However, Alexa did pick up a moderately clean win over Asuka, and looked like she was going to for a second time this past Monday night on Raw. They could essentially roll that back without worrying about anything new and still create a storyline. It would certainly be interesting and compelling, as the last 2 weeks of Raw have been, purely for that one storyline. Not for much else. That storyline. Number 2, Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks would be an incredible match, and one that I've been really looking forward to over the past few months. However, Bianca Belair has not had the greatest of pushes over the last year since she debuted after WrestleMania on the main roster. Until recently. Recently, she has been feuding with Bayley, one of the biggest and most recognisable names in women's wrestling. She has been in a tag team with Sasha Banks on a number of occasions, again one of the biggest names in women's wrestling, and a WWE Chronicle was just released highlighting just how talented Bianca Belair is. It's not a surprise to anyone who watched her regularly on NXT, but we could very much be looking at not so much a future women's champion, more a future women's champion this year. Belair was also a major standout in last year's Royal Rumble, anchoring the first half alongside Alexa Bliss. A similar performance would go a long way to establishing her as what she truly is, a dominant, powerful presence who could very much carry this company on her sizable shoulders. Number 1, Daniel Bryan. There is no debating the credentials of Daniel Bryan, and the fact that if you put him alongside either Drew McIntyre or Roman Reigns, you will get something magical. Bryan also has some history of Roman Reigns, specifically about Royal Rumbles. It's hard to look past Bryan as the notable and obvious favourite, especially considering he has been working sort of with Reigns and Jey Uso but from a distance, and has also been sort of working with Kevin Owens alongside him, who has been feuding with Roman Reigns for the past few months. Given Bryan's particular Rumble history, it would be a big surprise, to me at least, to see him enter into a Royal Rumble that he doesn't win. And for the past few years, I've felt as though the WWE have been actively trying to keep him out of the Rumble, at one point even giving him the championship not long before as a way of keeping him out of Rumbles that he wasn't going to win. The only Rumble he has been in since 2014, I believe it was the greatest Royal Rumble. Daniel Bryan is a big deal, and he would produce incredible quality in the storyline and in the resulting match. Now, would he take away the gold? I'm not sure about that one, but there's no arguing that he could certainly carry that program and be the big name that the WWE need going against Roman Reigns. There are plenty of names that I haven't mentioned, including people that I would really love to take the Royal Rumble win, such as Cesaro or Samoa Joe, but that's the magic of Royal Rumble time. Anyone could win. They could pluck a name out of the hat and make something magic. They could take a fan favourite such as Liv Morgan and make her a credible champion in the next 3 months, starting with a Royal Rumble win. Really, anything could happen, and this is when wrestling is at its most exciting. The Royal Rumble for me is the one unassailable moment that the WWE have that no other company will ever be able to match up to. Now, why don't you tell me your picks in the comments below? By all means, tell me what you don't like about this list. I want to hear from you. Subscribe if you haven't, like if you can, and please do not forget, 1 hour before the Royal Rumble kickoff show kicks off on the network, I will be kicking off my watch along that will go through the entirety of the Royal Rumble on twitch.tv/Tom Colohue. I hope to see all of you there, and thank you for watching.